We are so excited at the Sports Inquirer to be joined by Commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference, our host for the past few days, Commissioner Keith Gill. Thank you for having us here in the great city of New Orleans, the warm city of New
Yeah,
Orleans.
it's hot.
Yes.
Warm is understated.
Oh my goodness. We know we're in Metro Atlanta, so it gets hot, but this is a little bit different. But thank you for having us
Yeah,
here.
it's great to be here.
Uh, it's so many directions to go, but and we've had some conference realignment. We could talk playoffs, but just the overall state of the conference at this kind of snapshot. We're about to enter the 25-26 kind of academic season. Where is the Sun Belt kind of right now, and where are we just overall?
Yeah, I think the Sun Belt's in a really good spot. I think we can certainly talk about all the athletic accolades and those kinds of things. What I would just point to is conferences, kind of our peer conferences our size, when they lose someone to realignment, generally they don't get better. It actually diminishes them in some significant ways. And if you think about realignment in 2021, we got better. And when you think about realignment in 2025, we got better. And I think that is a testament to our brand. That's a testament to who we are. And I think that shows the strength of our league.
Thinking back to 21, because that was I want to say you're ahead of the curve, but bringing in, I'll call the Eastern Corridor into the conference with James Madison, ODU, Marshall. No, Marshall's right.
Yeah,
like,
Marshall.
It
was those three, and then Southern Miss was the fourth
and
one.
Marshall and Southern Miss.
Yeah.
It's all a blur to many of us.
Yeah, no worries.
But no, but you were ahead, bringing in four teams in that one swoop, and not this one's a little bit different. We'll get to the newest realignment, but I think that was really a big mark for you to be ahead of you saw the landscape and really played your game well there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that, and certainly, all flowers go to our presidents and chancellors and ads. But one of the interesting things is at that point we also had two schools that didn't play football, and
it was Arlington. Which one?
Yep, UT Arlington, and then Arkansas Little Rock.
Yeah, Little Rock. Yes,
And so when those teams departed the Sun Belt, certainly there was an opportunity for us to really double down and focus on football, which then allowed us to offer admission to those four teams, which are four programs and schools, which I think really jump started us from a standpoint of brand and really got us better in a lot of sports, a lot more competitive
programs too. They
absolutely
they came in and made their presence felt for sure. Now you have a new realignment. Texas State is leaving. It is their last year with the conference, but Louisiana Tech now comes in. I must admit I've overheard you say some interviews about it, and you can elaborate on it. But it's interesting because it does help a little bit the geography and the layout of the conference. But just what were some of the other factors that Louisiana Tech was the appealing for you?
Yeah, I think the first thing it starts with is, do you stay at 13 or go to 14, right? And 13 is hard. Anytime when you're trying to build schedules, you need to be even. You don't want to be odd, because that forces you to have buys when you don't want them. So, for instance, in football, if you're odd, then that means you're going to have someone have a bye in week 12 and a one-bye year, and that means they're going to have to, or week 13, I should say, and that means they're going to have to play 12 straight games and then have a bye, and then you have your conference championship, which is not a good schedule. So, if you think about that, that's just really a metaphor for all the scheduling problems you have in football and across the other sports. You got to go to 14, and then when you decide you want to add to 14, then it's who makes the most sense. And we certainly cast a wide net, but Louisiana Tech just checks all the boxes, and I think for a couple reasons. I think one is we lost a team in the West, and so they kind of help us maintain our divisions in a way that allows us to have regional rivalries kind of continue at the rate that they have now. I think they enhance the regional rivalries in the West Division, so they've got two in-state rivals. They also have Southern Miss, who historically has been a rival, and then obviously they got proximity to Arkansas State and some history with South Alabama as well. And then they're good in all the sports that matter to us. They've been to 8 bowls in the last 11 years in football. They've really strong basketball tradition and strong basketball kind of net scores and rankings and those kind of things. Baseball, they've been to 3 NCAA regionals in the last 5 years. They've won 40 games in the last 3 of the last 4 years. Softball's been to 2 NCAA regionals since 2017. And so when you look at them competitively, when you look at them geographically, They're like a perfect fit. We get better at all the things we do. We get better at the sports that are at our core. We get better at our geography. We get some great regional rivalries, and we get a passionate fan base.
Yeah, and we spoke 2 years ago at the media day, and the two things many things I took away, your the conference commitment to divisions, and also keeping regional integrity. I'll put it that way. And since we've spoken, we've seen that blow up because I was pre Big Ten and their expansion with the California schools and all over the place, and then pre ACC.
Right.
And we're based in Atlanta, so we deal with Georgia Tech and Stanford and Cal. It's pretty wild dealing with that. But
I
we,
know.
we talked about that, but it's just very interesting seeing that you have really tried to keep that region integrity, and also even the division aspect. All these other conferences are doing away with divisions. You're sticking to it.
Yeah, I really think it's our superpower, the divisions, because one, it allows us to schedule in a way that gives us a chance to play 75% of our games against the division. And then that creates those rivalries. So football, you play all six of your division mates, and then you play two in the cross division to get to the 8 games.
Right.
So I think that's a really important thing for us in that regard, and that helps us across all of our schedules. I think also for fans, it means they're going to really understand who the teams are because they're used to them. If we're bringing in Montana or Montana State, I don't know that the folks in Mississippi are really going to appreciate that in the same way that bringing in Louisiana Tech does. So I think it's unique. A lot of our peer conferences, a lot of conferences generally have gotten away from geography as some sort
Absolutely.
of defining
Yeah.
factor. And we've doubled down on it, and I think it's really helped us, and I think it's helped our brand, and I think it's helped us continue our momentum.
I mean, we're here for football, but we cover so many. I call football and non-football and basketball kind of the Olympic sports,
Okay.
and it's really messed with the budgets of those other teams. I mean, football is a once a week experience, and basketball is kind of basketball. But I do think of the soccer teams, the tennis teams, and having those trips is just brutal.
Yeah, it's really challenging. One, it takes its toll on your students. It actually impacts their ability to be competitive. It's expensive. It means your fans can't easily travel to the games, and so having some proximity. You know what I mean? I think there are going to be a lot of people from either Monroe or Ruston that go to the home game of the other one in football. Right?
Yeah.
It's 30 miles away. You can sleep in your bed, get up and go over there, tailgate, have a good time, and watch good football. So that proximity matters. We're leaning into it. It's unique. It makes us a unicorn to some extent. But it certainly has been something that's benefited our conference since 21.
Yeah, and I know we have a few minutes here left with you. Uh, Football, like the playoff expansion, people have different opinions of it. From your perspective, a commissioner of a Sun Belt conference team or a Sun Belt conference, and looking at your teams with the playoff, from your perspective, expansion, is it good? Do you just want to see maybe what would you like to see as far as just the layout of it?
I think expansion is good.
Yeah.
I like the fact that, we're at 12 teams. Certainly was a heavy lift to get there, but being there is helpful for us. I like the 5 AQs and then the balance being at larges. That's great. So if it went to 14, if it went to 16, I think that's better because I think that's more opportunities. But if it stayed at 12 in the current format, we can make that work. Sunbelt is well positioned for that. I think when you're looking at it, should it be mostly AQs, kind of like the Big Ten is promoting, or should it be the 5 AQs and then having the balance, whatever the total is, be at larges? I prefer the at larges, but I think what the Big Ten is proposing is something that we could work around too. So I'm pretty open now that we're at 12 and we actually have a legitimate opportunity to get to the playoff. That really satisfies, kind of my issues and concerns. I'm really excited about that. And then whether or not we add more, I hope we do because I think there is good opportunity there for the Sun Belt. But if we don't, I think we're well positioned in the current format.
Yeah, we're gonna do some fun questions at the end. But you, on a personal level, we're talking off air. You are now, and I don't make it say it. I want to do it officially. You are the head of the selection committee for men's basketball this upcoming academic year. What's that experience going to be like for you, and how are you? What do you anticipate just being in that position? And
Yeah, I think it's going to be
yeah,
outstanding. To be honest with you, I'm really excited about it.
okay,
It's been a dream to be on the committee.
What you've done the
So
past few years
yeah,
already.
so I've just finished my 4th year. So September 1 starts my 5th year, and I'm fortunate enough to be the chair. It's humbling, but it's really exciting that my colleagues would have the respect and my abilities and my leadership to chair the men's basketball committee. So I am I'm thrilled. It'll be great. It's a great group of people to work with. I've got great colleagues and great teammates on the basketball committee. The NCAA staff is pretty tremendous. So looking forward to it, and certainly think it's gonna it'll be a fun year.
Absolutely. And I said we're going to wrap up here with the commissioner of Sun Belt Conference. We've been asking these questions to coaches. I'm going to try to remix it a little bit for
Okay.
you. But you played too. You played a little bit. But favorite stadium that you were able to play in your, or maybe your favorite stadium that you've been able to travel to in your
Yeah.
different positions.
I would say that obviously, I played at Duke, and so I'm certainly partial to Wallace Wade and all the good times and good memories there. I think on the road, I want to say maybe my sophomore year we played at Tennessee, and that was pretty special. But also being at South Carolina was pretty special too. Playing the kind of 2001 Space Odyssey and the way the lights worked, and so I think those two places probably have the most had the most impact on me in terms of places on the road. But I'd give Duke, the number one in terms of places that I played.
Uh, what's been the one? I've been asking the coaches this, and there's some very interesting opinions. One thing you would like to maybe change or just improve in the not well in college football overall.
Hmm. Yeah, I really think calming down the transfer space. There's just too much movement. So if I was czar for the day, that's the one thing I would change is bring some sanity to the transfer space. So less ability to transfer in every year is not good. It's not good for academic outcomes. It's not good for team. It's not good for your long term connection with your schools. So that's the one thing I would make different.
All right, and then lastly, oh, I've been asking coaches the best coaching advice they've ever received and passed along to a player. Maybe, I mean, from your perspective, maybe the best professional advice that you've received and been able to kind of practice or even pass down to
Yeah.
younger people that you've been mentoring.
Really just not take yourself too seriously, and lighten up and kind of have a good perspective on things. And I try to follow that. I try to be humble and down to earth and just kind of a regular cat. And I think that's been good advice that served me well.
Yeah, absolutely. And how many years has you been commissioner?
This is my 7th
I
football
was gonna
season.
say, yeah, 7 years.
So
Man, how's that been? I mean, this is
it's been great. It's gone fast.
are you one of the longer tenured guys at this or people as a
Hmm.
commissioner?
So when I think about
When you do your commissioner,
FBS,
yeah, your commissioner meetings, I'm sure you gotta be like,
I think
You're
so when
kind
I do FBS, I want to say Greg Sankey
okay, yeah,
was
SEC,
hired before me, so
yeah,
that's one. I think Jim Phillips was hired a few. Oh, Steinbrecher has been in his role a long time. So John Steinbrecher at the MAC,
okay,
Judy, Jim Phillips. I think I'm the 4th
okay,
longest FBS
yeah,
tenured
but still, yeah, but
commissioner.
still, in 7 years, man, what have you just seen this conference go from to just where it's been and now where it is now? Then we'll end on that.
Yeah, it's been pretty tremendous. It's been a great ride. Football's been great. I feel like our momentum, really kind of at least in this round started in 2020. I think that was the COVID year. So I feel like it was either the second or third football season or football week. And we had 3 teams. So we had Louisiana, Arkansas State, and Coastal beat 3 Big 12 teams that day. And that was just huge, and then that springboarded us to our first game day, which was December 5th, 2020. And that was when, Coastal played BYU in that game that was set up in less than a week's notice. And Coastal won that game. And really since then, we've had some really good football momentum, so I've seen a lot in kind of the 7 football seasons that I've been around. It's been really impressive. And I think our best days are ahead.
All right, Commissioner Gill, appreciate the
Good
time.
deal.
Thank you,
Thanks for being
and
here. Really
absolutely,
appreciate it.
thank you.